In episode number 262 of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, we cover Ace Universe, the latest intervention to the growing convention scene.
We've also heard from Daniel's favorite director, Darren Aronofsky, on what his cinematic take would be on Batman.
Our comic book review celebrates 25 years of Harley Quinn with Harley Quinn 25th Anniversary Special number 1.
All of this and much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelly.
For any new listeners of the show, welcome to the Broquette family. The way we format it is we cover some news first, we head into our Patreon shoutouts of the week, and then we end with a comic book highlight and the review. But this week I did watch Mother, which, as you mentioned, Darren Aronofsky is my favorite director of all time. I'm not going to do a full review on Mother, but I will have some thoughts and share whether or not you should watch the latest from Darren.
For those of you who tuned in last week, we are back to our own studio, aka our closet. We finally received power after Hurricane Irma. Thankfully, we can be back in our own home, but thank you guys for bearing with us last week when things didn't sound exactly how they normally do.
Yeah, things sounded a little bit different. Energy wasn't quite the same, but, hopefully we brought you a decent episode that you guys enjoyed and that you took something away from. But of course, this week is one of your final episodes before your pregnancy, before little Leo comes into the world.
Yes, we have moved from Hurricane Irma watch into little baby Leo watch. I actually had a doctor's appointment today, went to see him, and he's like, cool, your kid's healthy, but your blood pressure's hella high. He's probably going to come 2 weeks early. And I was like, oh, well, shit.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if it's even, is it funny at all? It's
a little bit. Here's the thing. He's still full term at that point.
Okay.
Full term is between 38 and 40 weeks of pregnancy. He would be at 38 and a half weeks. So he's still considered full term. Like, people who have multiple babies, they pull him at 38 weeks. They're like, whoop, you're done. 38 weeks, you're out of here.
Why?
Things get cramped and complicated in there.
The more babies you have?
The more babies you have. It's very difficult because you got to think, like, this one baby, how much strain is it on my body? Now imagine 2 of them, and you have 2 of them in there vying for space, and it just becomes complicated. Typically with 2 babies, they just cut them out too. They don't even let you try and deliver them regularly anymore. They just schedule your C-section, done. So he went ahead and scheduled me to go to the hospital to give birth. And he's like, if your blood pressure doesn't come down, here you go. 2 weeks, 10 days early, really, 9 days early. And that was that. And I was like, oh, well, that's exciting.
Hopefully you can get the blood pressure. I don't know what you can do, though, to get your blood pressure down. It's dangerous. The reason you had mentioned there, when we weren't recording is that it can be a heart attack during the pregnancy if you continue it. So it's weird. Like, it's not the greatest update, I guess I would say. Like, he might be early, but still, hopefully everything is healthy.
Here's what's encouraging to me, though, is I don't know if I told the story about my doctor situation where my doctor quit and I had to find a new one.
And you didn't like the new doctor.
Right, because I didn't like the other doctors. I've been having high blood pressure the majority of my pregnancy. And as our longtime listeners know, I used to run marathons. My blood pressure was like on point, usually 115/70, which is like amazing. And ever since I've been pregnant, my blood pressure has been really high. And the previous doctor I went to, he's like, it's not pregnancy related. You're fine. Go home. And they wouldn't care about it. And I'm happy that this doctor actually cares about it because they understand that it could be a problem.
Right.
Which is encouraging to me. If they have to induce and then he shows up 10 days early, then that's just when he shows up, if it's healthier for him. The good news is they did these tests on him today, and he's kicking and he's moving fine and he's healthy and happy and all that kind of good stuff. It's just me slowly dying.
Jesus.
But I get to be out of work for till January. So that is...
moving forward now. Maybe that'll help with the pressure too.
It probably will, because now I have time. Right now, I'm in this space where I'm like, there's still so much I have to do before he gets here. And to balance that with work, where I'm on my feet 7 hours a day, and realistically, work takes up 9 to 10 hours of my day with commute and all that kind of fun stuff. And then
even before your pregnancy, 7-hour days weren't the norm. Like, this is easy, relatively speaking.
Right, relatively speaking, but it's still, I'm on my feet the whole time. I can't sit down. It's a high-paced environment, you know? Mm-hmm. So now I have the ability just to step back, say, this is everything that I need to get done. I have time to finish it now. He finally got most of his things. Mm-hmm. Finally, thankfully.
Diaper bag is on its way.
Yes, diaper bag is on its way. I got to place one last order with Babies R Us, and then he'll have all the things he needs, and then I can just be like, oof, all right, we're set up, we're ready to go, and I won't feel all this pressure. Because people ask me all the time at work, oh, are you ready for him? Hell no, I'm not ready. Where is he going to sleep? I got no place for him to sleep. I haven't changed a diaper in 22 years.
But if they do induce, then we're looking at a first week of October birth of Leo.
You're looking at like the 5th or the 6th.
Right. So that would leave you, to bring it back to the podcast, 2 more episodes after today. Potentially. That could be it. It
could be 4 more episodes after today. It could be 1 more episode after today. You don't really know.
Do 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 do. Do-do-do-do.
So, of course, we will keep you guys updated through Twitter if you follow us at Reasons I Broke, at Kelli.
It began with my penis, and then I came hard.
They don't need to know about this.
Well, this is how babies are made. Everyone broke that.
That is true. That is how babies are made. So, moral of the story is soon we will have a little Leo. And I will be taking some time off the podcast probably because I will be exhausted.
Earlier this week, I did put out a call to listeners, to fans of the show. If you would like to fill in for Kelli, because it's not a guarantee yet. I don't know if I'm going to pause the podcast completely when Leo's born, or if I'm going to, best case scenario, have a guest every single week to help me do the show as you recover. And it'll be this regular format where it'll be news. It'll be done over Skype. And I'll send you the news notes ahead of time, and you can kind of mull it over, and then we can go over the news together and record it. But that's the best case scenario, that I have the time to set up the podcast, record with someone else, and then edit the show and have it out on time, not only for Sunday's normal release, but also early enough for the Patreon backers. Worst case scenario, we pause the podcast until we both have time to record and do the show again, or until at least one of us has the time and space to do it, and then go from there and continue the show, or even do guests in a few weeks if one of us is still out of commission. So I did put out the call just in case. It's not a guarantee. I'm not sure yet if we're going to continue the show, if we're going to pause it, I should say, because we're going to come back eventually. But if not, if I have a guest every single week, head on over if you would like to apply to guest on the show and help me host the show. TheReasonsI'mBroke.com. Click on Contact. There's a little menu on the top left-hand corner of our website. And click on Contact. Go ahead and fill out your information. Let us know if you have Skype. Let us know what you can offer the podcast and why you want to be on the show. And then, we'll consider it. And then if I do the guest, we'll have you on for at least 1 episode. And I think it's exciting because every week we can have a different voice on the show.
I don't know that I like this, because maybe you'll find someone you like better than me.
Brokettes, is there someone better than Kelli? Like, I'm replaceable. I don't think Kelli is.
You're not replaceable. Who's going to edit the show if you're not here?
They won't edit it as well as I do.
That's true.
That's
I
true.
would be the one editing it, and I would just say, fuck it, and you get what you get.
You've edited 1 episode of the show, actually. Do you remember many years ago?
No.
Many years ago, I wasn't able to get the show out in time, and I was like, I forgot I think it was a midnight release, because I was working at GameStop, or it might have been Disney, and I was like, I really need this done tonight, and I can't do it. And you're like, don't worry about it, I'll edit the show. And I gave you like a quick 2-minute thing, like, look, this is where I edit, this is how I cut the audio from here to here, and you just got to do it for the whole thing. And you did it. Like, it was either an afternoon or a night, but you edited the podcast, you saved it, and I think you might have even uploaded it, or you had just saved it. I'm like, okay, I can upload it, it'll take me 10 minutes. But you did edit 1 episode of the show. It was very early on in the podcast's history.
I don't remember this. Did I do a good job? Was I decent?
I think you did fine, but I don't remember. I don't remember it being like something like, oh, she screwed, this is always going to be a thing. No, I think you did okay, but I don't remember. But I do know you edited 1 show.
I'm going to pretend it was the best edited show we've ever had.
Well, our shows have gotten, I think, a little bit better than like episode 40-something.
Well, that's because I started with that show, and it's just progressed since then.
You kicked it off
Yeah,
with your editing?
I really don't remember this, but I'm glad I did okay.
Yeah, thank you for your editing from many years ago.
You're welcome.
But once again, that website is thereasonsimbroke.com. Click on contact and fill out that form for us. And again, it's a maybe thing. It's not a guarantee. We may not have any guests, but I do want to have a lineup. I've already got Swordfish Show. I've got the guys from Super Side Up. I've got Lazy Gaming Guys, John72Tex. And so far, I haven't checked the email yet, so there might be some more entries that I'm going to consider. But for sure, those 4 are ready to go. So I'm really happy that we have that support. And maybe I've forgotten 1 or 2 people. I think Cuban Slim actually said he'd be able to go on too. And if not, I would like to have him on because he had a podcast as well at one point. So
that's 5 weeks I get off?
At the very least, like,
That's
I can have
exciting.
repeats. Like, I'm sure these guys would not hesitate on coming back and helping out, especially helping you out. So they're helping out our little family. They're helping out Ace. They're helping out Leo, you, myself. And, we really appreciate it. So we'll see when we get there, maybe in 2 weeks, maybe in 3 weeks, possibly 4 or 5. We don't know. But it's still the final countdown.
Some number of weeks, yes.
And by then, we'll know if we won, if we went all the way with the podcast awards. As a reminder, the ceremony is on September 30th. We are nominated for Games and Hobbies, and that's all thanks to the listeners. That's thanks to the Brokettes who went forward with their Brokette core power and nominated us for Games and Hobbies. And the award show is on September 30th at 5 p.m. I believe it is Eastern time. But for full details, follow Podcast Awards on Twitter. It's at Podcast Awards. They're constantly tweeting about updates on the show and the ceremony. And we'll know by next week if we won. If not, we are forever the 2017 Games and Hobbies nominated Podcast Awards podcast.
Yes. That's a win in and amongst itself.
That's right. Can't take that away.
But of course, we have to thank all of our Brokettes for nominating us, for getting us to this point. As we've said many times, it is very appreciated.
And with those thanks, we can head into the news for the week.
We're going to start off with some convention news. Gareb Shamus, the founder of Wizard Entertainment, is helping to launch his own take on conventions with an all-new arena-based show with live streaming for people who aren't able to attend.
In an interview with Newsarama, Shamus said, quote, "What we're doing is we're creating a more curated and immersive type of event. And someone who's interested in superheroes, whether they're a beginner or they're in the advanced stages of knowledge, they'll be able to come to the event and be incredibly engaged in the experience of it and being a part of it. We're switching the venue. Typically, Comic-Cons occur in convention centers. We're going to be in arenas," end quote.
Guests include Justice League actors Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, Ray Fisher, Jason Momoa, Ezra Miller, and Syrian Hinds.
The last one is Steppenwolf himself from this year's Justice League.
I was like, who dat? I didn't know who it was. Now I know.
So you know the Jumbotron that they have in arenas, Kelly?
Yes.
The reason they want to do it in an arena as opposed to a convention center is they said they looked at conventions and they used to work for Wizard, obviously Wizard World, and they looked at the complaints from guests. They said that the biggest things were lines, not being able to make it to panels. And that's one complaint, we had, but it's not as big of a thing for us because we know that we can't make it. When I went to C2E2 earlier this year, I really wanted to go to the DC Rebirth panel. Dan DiDio was there. I believe Jim Lee was there too. And we almost walked right in. Like Riggs and I just walked past like the door guards and started to sit down. And because we kind of looked unsure because we're like, oh, there's no one in here. I guess we're here early. Then the guards are like, are you guys part of the panel? And we're like, no. They're like, yeah, the line's over there. And we come outside and the line went it must have gone for like a fucking mile wrapping around. Like it was a long ass goddamn line. I was like, holy they're not going to fit any of these people in here. It's going to be like
0 of these people will make it in.
I'm like, from this point on, like I can point to the line. I'm like, 90% of this line is not going to fit in here. This is ridiculous. It's crazy. So we're like, all right. And Briggs was like, we should have just told them we were on the panel. And I'm like, probably. Like, if you say something confidently enough, they'll just believe you.
Right.
Like, oh yeah, we're here with not Dan DiDio. We're here with Dan. Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead, guys. And then we'd sit down. We should have. But that's one of the things we're like, okay, well, we didn't get here early enough. We should have sat down 2 hours ahead of time. And then I didn't want to make my friends go through that because they're not reading DC Rebirth. So it's like, all right, cool. But for this convention, they're going to have the Jumbotrons. They're doing it in arenas because they want to stream a constant stream throughout the convention. I don't even know if it's called a convention anymore. During Ace, what was it called again?
Ace Universe.
During Ace Universe, they will live stream the event through different cameramen. And whenever there's a panel, they'll be there and they'll stream the panel online and on the Jumbotron. So their idea is if you're on your way to the bathroom, if you're in line to get, a hot dog or food, or you're in line to get a signature, you'll have the Jumbotron there and you can watch the panel as you're waiting in line for other things if you're not able to be at the panel. And then if you're at home and you weren't able to watch or attend, you can stream in on the event and tune in that way. So one of the things is one of the concerns is, well, then why do I need to go to the convention if I can just stay home and watch it? Well, if you're going to the convention, not only can you watch the stream, but you're doing it as you're getting signatures. You're doing it as you're meeting comic guests. You're doing it as you're meeting the goddamn Justice League. and you're in the Jumbotron and you can be in the panel. So it's more for everyone, because when you're at a convention, you're not saying, oh, I wish I could be at this other panel. Like sometimes you're just in line and you're happy to get your signature and that's it. So it's not really affecting the convention goers as much as people think. Do you think this is going to work out better for them to have it in an arena as opposed to a convention center?
I don't know. It's an interesting take on it. I can see all their ideas.
Very risky.
Yes, very, very risky. Because the thing about convention goers, too, is they can be very set in their ways.
What do you mean?
They come and they're like, okay, this is the convention format I'm looking for. And if somebody does a different format, it's, well, that one wasn't as good because this one does it better because of their setup. And, the arenas that I've been to, I'm assuming they're using the halls outside, too.
They've got to be. Because it's not just the seats. It's got to be the main floor and then the halls. I feel like
the main floor isn't really that big. It's not big enough, especially MegaCon. That thing's massive.
So that'd be like 5 arena floors, just the floors.
Exactly. So they're going to have to use the halls. Something that concerns me is then where are they actually hosting these panels, because there's not really convention rooms. I'm sure they've thought all this through, but yes, I do feel it's very risky. Also for the fact that, okay, why do I need to go again? Because I can watch the panel from home. Or that may be an instance where I was originally going to buy a 3-day ticket so that I can go to these panels, but now I'm just going to buy a 1-day ticket, get my signature, and watch the panels I want to see from home.
Now, one way it could help them is in brand building, because the first convention, we're going to talk about it in a little bit, but it's in New York. I might as well tell you now. The first Ace Universe event is going to be on Long Island in New York, and it's going to be December 8th through the 10th. So if they're streaming that, we're down here in Florida. We're not going to fly up to New York for Ace Universe, but we will be tuning in and streaming and watching with the panels. We're going to watch Justice League be there, and they're going to have questions and answers. And if we're watching this and we're saying this Ace Universe event is awesome, they need to have one in Florida. They're now having brand recognition where people are like, I know what the event is like. I know what kind of show they put on. If they ever come into my area, I want to go to those things. I want to go to the panel there itself. This is well organized. There's a lot of convention goers. There's a lot of panels. There's a lot of vendors and big names right off the bat. Justice League with their movie releasing in November. And by the time this convention releases or comes out, people will have seen Justice League or they're still watching Justice League, and then they can meet them if they're in the New York area, if they go to Ace Universe. So I think it's actually going to help them more than anything because it's promoting those conventions for them. Even though they're streaming the show, it's promoting that convention for when they eventually do spread to the rest of the U.S.
We'll see. Like you said, it's still very, very risky. I still think there's going to be a lot of people who aren't going to go to the convention because they feel they don't need to. So again, San Diego Comic-Con, it's awesome. We've always wanted to go. But what happens if now every single panel with all those special previews gets streamed straight to your house? Do you really have as much desire to drop $1,000 to go to this convention?
I still want to go to San Diego one day, so yes.
Well, all I have to say is there is always an Ace universe in my house because
Nice.
I have a little doggy named Ace, and she is my universe.
Well, they've already done one thing right with the name.
Yes, that is
So,
true.
I think they've got you. You may not want to believe it or admit it. No, I hope this works out for them.
Mm-hmm.
I hope this revolutionizes, that portion. I hope we have 2 different kinds of conventions. One in which you have in traditional centers, because not every place is going to have an arena that they can use. So you'll still have your traditional convention experience. But if this works out well, then it's just more shows and a better show for everyone to go to, and really more options for all of us,
In case you missed it, like we said, the first one will be in Long Island, New York, December 8th through the 10th.
We've got some movie news. As we mentioned before, Darren Aronofsky, one of my favorite directors, he just came out with the movie Mother. It is in theaters now, but he did Black Swan in the past, if you've seen that. The Wrestler, Pi, The Fountain, my favorite movie. Before Warner Brothers went into Christopher Nolan's Batman Begins, the company had heard several pitches, including one from Darren Aronofsky.
In an interview with Yahoo Movies, there's an exclamation mark. Is Yahoo still a thing?
Oh, of course they are. I have Yahoo Mail.
Is AOL still a thing?
They are. They're still around.
What are they doing with their lives? I feel like they're old high school friends. Like, oh, what are they up to?
Well, add them on Facebook. See what's going on. They all gained weight. Ooh.
What about AIMs?
Oh, it's gotta still be around. It's gotta be.
With the cheesy
the door opening, you mean?
Bling! Yes.
Sounded like a Pokemon.
Most things sound like Pokemon. So, in an interview with Yahoo Movies for his latest film, Mother, Aronofsky revealed that he wanted to do Batman Year One as an R-rated movie.
Quote here from Aronofsky, who said, "I think audiences now, they've seen enough comic films that they're game for that. So I think we were a little bit out of our time for our idea, and I always wanted Joaquin Phoenix for Batman," end quote.
I love Aronofsky. I think he's a great director. I do not think that he could make the Batman film that everyone wants or would appreciate.
It would definitely not be a movie that Batman fans would enjoy as a Batman movie.
Correct.
It would be, you're 100% right. It would be an incredible movie. It would not be a great Batman movie, I guess. It's weird to say it that way, because I'm sure I would have still loved it and been like, this is the greatest Batman movie of all time.
Of course you would have.
Because it would have been legitimately an amazing movie with the title Batman on it. And he's talked about it years ago, in which he wanted to make a non-rich Bruce Wayne. And he and Alfred own a car garage, a mechanic shop. So they're working every day to make ends meet. And he sees crime, and, you know, he's always had the murder of his parents as a child, and something he's always wanted to fight against. And when he gets into an adult, obviously he's been training all these years through lower means, kind of like Bruce Wayne did in Batman Begins, where, you know, he didn't take his money with him. He went off and trained mentally and physically. So it'd be something similar, except the mechanic shop would explain the Batmobile and how they've been building this project together, and they use the Batmobile to go fight crime. It'd be like a lower, non-high-tech type of Batsuit. They've shown concepts for it, and he's got like a big red symbol on it. Kind of like Batman from the Earth 2 comic book. So it was definitely a very different take on Batman. It's kind of like an Elseworld story, or like an Earth Aronofsky type of comic book story, which I'm sure would have been great. But for Warner Brothers, I'm not surprised that they passed on it, because after so many years of not having a Batman movie after Batman and Robin, they wanted to make sure that the next Batman film did not kill Batman movies for another decade.
They wanted to make sure it was a Batman movie and not just Aronofsky, granted, doing very creative, wonderful things, but making an Aronofsky movie and just putting Batman's name on it.
It's just like Noah. We just talked about that. It's based on biblical themes from the Bible, and it's even got like almost exact character names for the most part, but it could be a retelling of the Noah story in the future. Could be a retelling in the past. Like, that's one thing he said. It's a timeless movie because this could be a post-apocalyptic story. It could actually be a retelling of the biblical one. So that's why a lot of Christians were like, this is not, there weren't rock monsters in the Bible. And I'm like, no, rock monsters are amazing. What an amazing set of characters.
And they were the great part, the best part of that movie. But again, Aronofsky doesn't really make movies for the masses.
That's true. So he was almost on Watchmen. Would you have given him Watchmen? Because that's not a movie for the masses.
It's not a movie for the masses, but the thing I liked about Watchmen is it was almost scene for scene from the book. You could match them up, like, perfectly. And I don't think Aronofsky would have been like, I'm going to change this. And he would have changed something.
Manhattan is really inside everyone's mind, and it is a symbolic representation of the superhero persona that they've each built. And I'd be like, wow, so good.
And Watchmen's fans would be like, but that's not even the book.
Where's this blue dick?
Oh, Aronofsky would have put that in there.
That's true. He would have, yeah. I was going to say, he would have had him fucking someone, but Manhattan was fucking someone in the movie, too.
Yeah, but he would have, like, focused on it more.
And there would have been a white screen transition, because he has, like, that happened in Mother twice.
It happens in all his movies.
Yeah. So I would have seen it, but as you mentioned, probably for the best.
How do you feel about Joaquin Phoenix playing Batman?
Joaquin Phoenix is an amazing actor. I'm sure he would have done fine. I like his previous performances. It'd be like Tom Hardy once again. He can play whoever he wants, and I trust Joaquin Phoenix as well.
He retired, didn't he?
He retired, but it was all a gimmick for a movie in which it was a movie about, he's like, I'm retiring to start a rap career. And people were like, what? What are you talking? You're crazy. And he did a bunch of publicity stunts where he grew this giant beard and he started getting into fake fights out in public. He did these awful rap performances out in public in these clubs and real like hip hop communities.
Ugh.
And people were like, he's gone crazy. He's on drugs. It was all a documentary he was filming, and it was all fictional, and we were all, fooled into it, and that was kind of the whole idea of it. And then he came back to films again. So he didn't I guess he retired, but to do an artistic project that also happened to be a film.
So what's he been doing recently then? Because I have not heard from this man.
I'd have to look him up on IMDb, but I know he did, it was just a fake retirement, so to say, or a temporary one.
You know what movie we haven't talked about yet, and we need to talk about it?
Which one?
And it's not even in your notes, but I'm bringing it up because we need to talk about it. The Disaster Artist.
We have talked about it, 10 episodes ago.
A long time ago.
But there's a new trailer.
There's a new trailer, and you didn't even put it in your notes, and it was a great trailer.
Well, it sounds like you really want to talk about it.
Got me so excited.
So this Disaster Artist is a retelling of the production of The Room, considered by many one of the worst movies of all time, starring, written, directed, edited by Tommy Wiseau, and he's famously one of the worst actors to ever show up in screen, but it's called The Disaster Artist because now he's banking on this awful performance in movie that made him more famous than probably he would have expected. So if he were to say this movie is going to make me famous, it's going to make my career, sure enough, it fucking did. He was not wrong.
Well, I think what I read, it's based off the biography of the guy who plays Mark from the movie. And he named the book The Disaster Artist.
Okay.
So that's where they got the name from.
I think that's the book in which he documented the production of the movie.
So it stars James Franco, who I've been reading that people are calling this the best film he's ever done. He
is Tommy Wiseau. He nailed the fucking guy.
I thought he was Mark.
No, Mark is... I forgot who the actor that plays Mark, but James Franco is Tommy Wiseau.
Oh, well then, yeah, it's the best thing I've ever seen, because he is perfect. And I love that he loved this movie so much that he said, I need to make a movie about this movie.
It's gone to Sundance.
Yeah.
It's got amazing reviews. When's it coming out?
December. It just says December.
Perfect. Yeah, so watch that too.
I am so excited. You have to see the trailer. If you haven't seen The Room, watch The Room. Let a little piece of you die. But my favorite thing, like you mentioned, is Tommy Wiseau is just making bank off this. Even when his movie was shitty, it became a cult classic and people loved it. And then now he's getting money for the rights for all the rest of this stuff.
This is working out better for him because with his fame, he and Mark did another movie together in which they're friends, and it didn't quite get as much traction because everyone's like, now you guys are trying to recreate The Room. And,
I didn't know they made another one.
Right, exactly, because no one...
I thought Mark hated him.
Mark's not happy with him, but this guy's making his career more than Mark ever. His career would be dead if it weren't for The Room and Tommy Wiseau constantly going to interviews and screenings for the movie. And yeah, he treats it as a big joke. You see him during interviews and he's kind of rolling his eyes next to poor Tommy Wiseau, who's legitimately trying to sell the movie and excite everyone. But it's you gotta give it up to the guy. Yeah, you're known for being in one of the worst movies of all time, but we saw you in that movie. You weren't going anywhere.
No, you weren't going anywhere, Mark. What a story, Mark.
What a story.
It's not true. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
So now switching on over to the Marvel side. I'm sorry, it's still on DC. We're talking about a Marvel director.
X-Men First Class director Matthew Vaughn recently shared his vision of a Man of Steel 2.
Our favorite X-Men movie of all time, X-Men First Class. When they first announced Matthew Vaughn as director, we are all thumbs up, ready to watch Man of Steel 2. His quote says, I think Richard Donner did it to perfection for that time. I want to do a modern version of the Donner version, go back to the source material. For me, Superman is color, feel good, heroic. He's a beacon of light and darkness, and that's what I think Superman should be. End quote.
What movie did Richard Donner do? Man of Steel 1?
No, he did like the first Superman.
Old one that I haven't seen.
And a part of Superman 2, even though that was directed by another person, because
I haven't seen that either.
Because of that classic Superman movie, the Man of Steel and BVS get more flack, and even Superman Returns. People are used to that version of Superman on film, which is, as he mentioned, someone smiling, someone saving people. It is
a Boy
comic.
Scout.
Yeah, basically. That's what Superman is. And Zack Snyder has a lot of those elements still in Man of Steel, but it's also more grounded because, as we mentioned, WB wanted to replicate the success of the Dark Knight trilogy, so they had Snyder do something like Batman Begins, but for Man of Steel. And if you go to Twitter, and I'm retweeting them all the time, and people are like, yeah, here's the part where Superman is colorful and smiling, and he's the heroic, and he's saving people. Like, those are in the Snyder films, but it's also surrounded by, a way more complex personality to Superman, which is what people don't like. They want to see more of what the Donner version is. So this quote already by Matthew Vaughn had people already really excited for Man of Steel 2, and maybe it's what they needed. I, again, wouldn't have minded Snyder staying on for another Man of Steel 2, but people are ready for a change, and they're giving people what they want.
You know who they should put on Man of Steel 2? Darren Aronofsky.
To not give him a Superman film so that they can say, bring back Snyder.
Yep. It would be a very dark film, but his Superman persona is just all in his mind.
Yeah, if people wanted something not Superman, if they think Snyder is not Superman, wait for an Aronofsky Superman film.
Or a Wiseau Superman
That's
film.
True, too. Yep.
I would watch that. What's the story, Lois?
No release date has been set for Man of Steel 2 yet. Some people have been saying, like, did you guys forget Superman Returns was pretty much a sequel to the Donner films, basically? Like, it happened already, and people did not like it. People were like, well, we just do it again anyway.
Just whatever. Just spend millions and make it.
It's too dark. I don't want to see that dark movie. I want to see a light one.
Well, we'll see. We will watch it either way. We're going to see B-Chance. Some of our brokettes are using B-Chance.
They are. They found the first one to do it. Nicholas found the emojis we were talking about, the beach and the ant, threw it right up. And then everyone else is doing it now. It's amazing. Use it in everyday life. Use it in person. Explain to people. Use it as an insult, and they'll know what it means. Like, oh man, that guy littered. That B-Chant.
The people will be like, what?
Get your B-Chant back here. Clean that up.
I love it. B-Chant is the best. So thank you guys that have used it. Keep it going. Put it in the dictionary. By the way, did you hear Webster's Dictionary added new words this year?
Every single year?
Every single year. They added front, as in you put up a front, you're fronting someone.
I'm surprised that it hasn't already been in there.
But that is in there now. Froyo finally made it in there.
Sure.
And one that applies to you, troll.
Very nice.
So to troll someone.
I always like the people that get mad and they're like, why are they putting these terms in there? They're not going to be around in 10 years. It's like, right, well, language evolves and changes,
right.
And it's forever going to be changing.
How many words, like forsooth? Who uses forsooth anymore?
Exactly right. And, this show will be ancient in 100, 200 years. They won't speak like this in the future.
They will be saying B-Chant in the
Hell
future.
yeah, they fucking will, so.
So that will end up in the dictionary. B-Chant, meaning bitches or bitch ass.
Perfect. Onto the comic book side, the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Entertainment Network, GLSEN, has announced plans to give DC Entertainment its Visionary Award for what it describes as, quote, a commitment to showcasing diverse storylines, end quote. We got this story from Newsarama.
GLSEN specifically pointed out Catwoman, Batwoman, Renee Montoya, and Midnighter.
Lots of gay characters. Batwoman has an ongoing series right now. Midnighter, I don't remember. I'm not reading a lot of, I guess it would be, I want to say Wildstorm, but I could be wrong. But I haven't seen Midnighter.
Wildstorm.
You know what? He was a Nightwing. That's right. He was a Nightwing. So
was he going after Nightwing? Like,
They did fight.
Did you see they cast Nightwing for the TV show?
They did. Yeah.
They got a guy with a nice butt.
Midnighter does actually say, I'd recognize that butt anywhere
in
a comic.
Does.
So we have a quote here from Diane Nelson, DC's president.
Quote, at DC, we are committed to telling stories that reflect and inspire our diverse audience, and we look forward to celebrating with the LGBTQ students and activists from across the country, end quote.
What's funny about this is Marvel over the past year has done more of the diversification of their line, and that's why it's suffered. That's why they're about to do Marvel Legacy and hopefully recoup all of the losses that they've had and bring back the familiar characters that were missing. And that's what DC Rebirth was as well. When they tried to do something similar with DCU, then, sales dropped, and then they had to end the New 52 and not reboot, but relaunch with DC Rebirth. So continuing the stories, but bringing them back with the elements that people were missing. Mm-hmm. So the more familiar characters and folding in the books so that we didn't have, 52 books on the stands. But DC ended up getting the award for diversity in this case, even though they have less than before in the DC YOU. But it's still, maybe it's because they've done it better. Maybe it's because it's worked out for them, or they've done better stories,
or because they're DC and not crappy Marvel.
They do have the talent.
They do have the Batman.
I mean, I guess you give us an equivalent of Batwoman on the Marvel side as far as the comics, something that's still going, or that had a strong set of stories like in the New 52 with Batwoman. I don't know if you can really give us that. I don't know if they have that exact equivalent on their side, and maybe that's why they did it. Either way, whether or not this is what DC was aiming for, it's something that they should definitely run with, because hell yeah, if I'm the head of DC and I got that award and I was that company, I'd also be like, yeah, let's go around the country. We're going to celebrate this award and, celebrate diversity, whatever brings more attention to our line of DC books. You run with that shit, no matter how you feel, whether it's deserved or not.
Well, and I think that's exactly what they're going to do. So hopefully we will see that soon. Just go with it, DC.
Final bit of news, and this involves a new comic line from Boom Studios. Continuing its line of Nickelodeon comic books, Boom has announced an ongoing Rocko's Modern Life series.
Rocko's Modern Life. It's a comic book.
I wonder if that's going to be in the book.
That'd be awesome.
We have a press release here from Boom Studios.
This is a long one. You're going to make me read this whole thing?
I can read it if you want.
I'll try, but don't get mad at me if I mess it up. Quote, writer, see, I can't even do it. Quote,
within the first two words.
I'm pregnant. Leave me alone. Quote, writer Ryan Ferrerer from Regular Show and Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and artist Ian McGinty from Adventure Time and Bravest Warriors teamed to launch the first comic book in the series in December 2017. Each issue will also feature bonus short stories by different illustrators, including Tony Millionaire from Sock Monkey, Casey Green from Invader Zim, and David DeGrand from SpongeBob Comics. End quote. Whew.
It actually wasn't that long.
It felt very long. There were a lot of parentheses in there that I had to read. I had to add words like from.
It's what a press release is, Kelly.
Listen, this is why I dropped out of journalism or whatever I was doing. I hate press releases.
Series artist Ian McGinty added, quote, fans are going to be pretty blasted away by how well the new comic blends 90s nostalgia with modern sentiment and a Mystery Science Theater 3000-esque vibe that I find really, really cool, end quote.
Oh, well, because Ian McGinty finds it really, really cool.
Look, if he's excited, you want your team excited for the project.
Of course you do.
Because it shows in the comic book. Rocko's Modern Life, I think we're going to have a better idea on how popular or how well that's going to do when the Rugrats comic book releases, also from Boom Studios.
Well, when the Rocko's Modern Life movie releases, too, that'll help.
Definitely will. Now, the only thing is, I figured they would have launched this in conjunction with that Rocko's Modern Life special, and they didn't, which was a little bit weird to me, but maybe the comic industry releases are different than television launch. I'm sure they are. So that's probably, they wanted to release it right before the holidays, get more eyes on the book, especially now with these companies doing their events and titles, Marvel Legacy, DC's Metal, and also Jeff Johns' Doomsday Clock is going to be running at that point. All of those things are going to be going at the same time. So there's going to be more traffic in comic shops and more people browsing. So yeah, you do want to get your newer issues and newer number ones right near the end of the year or around the same events as the other big two. So I think it can do well. I don't see this doing gangbusters. I think, people our age that grew up with Rocko's Modern Life or Rugrats, I don't think we're the type to, we're a very focused market. So I hope they don't expect this to do numbers like Power Rangers or even Adventure Time. I don't think it's going to do that well. I think it is a nostalgia trip. I'm surprised it's not a miniseries.
Right.
I think it should have been, and then if it did well, then expand it into an ongoing. But there is something to be said for a company that launches a brand new series straight as an ongoing with that confidence, and hopefully it pays off. I'm definitely going to subscribe. I loved Rocko's Modern Life. I'm more excited for that than I am Rugrats, simply because there's more possibilities. There's greater substance to Rocko's world than there is to the Rugrats. The Rugrats were always those cute jokes of like, oh, they're babies. They think, the baby monitor is this monster, or they think the garage is this outer space, they think it's the moon. So it was kind of that joke all the time, but Rocko's Modern Life had adult humor in there. There was, we've talked about it before, the sex line, Choky Chicken, all of that. So, yeah, sign me up to Rocko's Modern Life. I just hope it does.
Rocko's Modern what?
I just hope it does as well as it should.
You can enjoy that. I was never a huge fan of Rocko's Modern Life. I'll read the first issue just to support it. But at the end of the day, like you said, it's a very select market, and great for you that you're in that market. If they released like a Hey Arnold comic, I'd probably read that. Speaking
of which, Funko Pop, they're releasing Nickelodeon Pops, and Hey Arnold is one of them.
Awesome.
It's going to be 2 packs for each character for a total of 6 characters. So it's going to be Arnold and Helga. Yeah. There's going to be Rocko and Heifer, and Rocko comes with a little spunky dog figurine with it in the pop. And then the 2 Angry Beavers. It was Norbert and I don't remember the other guys.
Wasn't it like Ned? Or
Harold
Ted?
Or something. I don't remember, but I remember Norbert.
I remember him too. The other one had like a real short name.
The yellow one and the brown, one.
Didn't Arnold and Helga get married in the end?
They kissed. They did not get married. I don't think they ever jumped into adulthood,
did they? I thought they jumped into adulthood somewhere.
Or was there like an episode where he got knocked out and he wakes up in the future or something? Maybe that did happen. I don't know. I wouldn't mind that. Like, that'd be a good twist to the whole thing, because she loved him the whole time. Yep. And he kind of saw something good in Helga every now and again in certain episodes. So I would not be against that.
I wonder if she still has that nasty gum model of him.
Probably. That's what her pop should have came with, like a little gum model.
That's disgusting.
So out of those 3, Rocko's Modern Life, Angry Beavers, and Hey Arnold, do you think any of those pops are going to do well, or which one do you think is going to sell the most?
I think Hey Arnold would probably sell more.
No shit.
Because I think it has a bigger audience.
I thought Rocko, and definitely Angry Beaver is the least out of those 3.
Angry Beaver's the least for sure. But I think Hey Arnold has a bigger audience. Did you watch Hey Arnold?
I did.
And I watched Hey Arnold. Did you watch Rocko?
I did.
I did not watch Rocko.
Did you pre-order the Rocko and Heifer pop?
No.
I did.
Okay, well, I'm happy for you. I don't pre-order pops. I wait until they're out of stock, and then I ask you to get them for me.
Yes, you do.
Because then I decide that I want them. Except I had you pre-order my Pickle Rick. Did you do that yet?
Yeah, it's been pre-ordered.
Okay, good.
Although, I don't know if it's going to... I meant to ask you, did you want the Pickled Rick with the...
The laser.
Okay, that's the chase. We're probably not going to be able to get that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'll try. If not, do you want the other one?
Yeah.
For your boss?
It's for my boss.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
That's it.
I can wait till it's out of print if you'd rather.
Content, everyone. This is your content.
Whatever happened to that cat dog? Since we're talking about
they came out with a pop-up cat dog and nobody cared.
Nope.
They came out with Rugrats. They came out with Reptar as a pop.
Reptar's pretty cool.
But once again, nobody cared. So who knows what's going to happen with these. But I'm going to have a Rocko and I'm going to have a Heifer. And I'm going to have the Rocko's Modern Life pop. And I can't wait for the special. And I can't wait for a Blu-ray release of Rocko's Modern Life as well. All of this, I don't know why, it's just hit me really hard, the Rocko's Modern Life nostalgia of like, and it still holds up. You go on YouTube, you watch Rocko's Modern Life, it is awesome.
Yeah, you can enjoy that. As long as you don't get, Ren and Stimpy, I hated Ren and Stimpy.
Did you ever see the adult Ren and Stimpy? The one that they did many years later?
No, I didn't watch any of it.
Years later, they did an exclusive, I think it was MTV, it might have been Netflix, where the creators came back and they did another 9 episodes of Ren and Stimpy, but they're like, this time we're not tied in with Nickelodeon. We can do what we want. And sure enough, they have, I don't know what kind of dog Stimpy was, but Ren was a Chihuahua. And they do, first off, they're gay. They're straight, they're gay. There was always that hint in the show, but this time they're gay. They sleep together, they have sex. They end up in a women's locker room shower thing because Ren still wants to see women. Ren is bi. and still wants to see like human females. But so he hides in the shower, and when they come in, like he hides in the portion that's like a soap holder, and the women mistake him for like a sponge, and so they start rubbing him in between their tits, and he's like, "Oh yes," they went all out with that shit, and they went filthy with that cartoon once they were like many years later. It didn't hit the revival they were hoping for, but it's like, okay, so this is really what you wanted this show to be.
Oy.
All right.
Oy. I can't. That show was already adult enough as it was as a child, and like their eyes were popping out of their sockets. I'm like, the fuck is this? This is Nickelodeon.
Powdered Toast Man with his nipples.
I don't even remember. See, this is how little I watch this. I should just don't get Ren and Stimpy anything.
Maybe that was Rocco too, though. Powdered Toast Man.
Oh my goodness. I don't understand men. I will never understand boys.
Look, I'm with you. I wasn't huge on Ren and Stimpy. I watched it every now and again, but Rocco was way better. Hey Arnold was way better.
You also loved Beavis and Butthead.
I didn't love Beavis and Butthead. I rewatched it recently, 2 years ago I call it recently, and I was like, all right, this is pretty funny. I get it now. As a kid, though, I was like, oh, it's a cartoon. It's meant for me. And then I'm like, no, this isn't very funny. So, yeah, I appreciate them for what they are, but I'm also not clamoring for more Ren and Stimpy or for more Beavis and Butthead.
Boys are weird, and I'm bringing another one into the world, and I don't know why I made this decision.
He's going to grow up on Batman the Animated Series just like I did.
He's going to be great.
It'll be fine. And he's going to grow up with the support of Brokettes.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to have a giant ego. Probably all the attention he's going to be getting.
He's going to have a giant head.
Well, yeah, I mean, my coworker, he says he got made fun of for having a giant head when he was growing up. And I was comparing his head with mine. I'm like, I think mine still might be bigger. Like if you were, I don't know yet. Like I'd have to like really, can you get your head close to my head? And
Not gay.
Not gay at all.
No, not gay. We're just friends.
It makes it gay that I'm saying this.
Well, see, here's the thing. Here's my trouble. You have a big head. We've established this.
Uh-huh.
My dad has a big head.
Yes, he does.
And I am very genetically similar to my dad. So even though my head is not big, I have those genetics within my body. So the likelihood that your child will have a big head and just destroy me is very high. So it was nice knowing you, Brokettes.
We'll know in a few weeks. Coming right up, yep. So with that, let's jump into our Patreon shout-outs for the week.
This week, our first Patreon shout-out goes out to Christian, whose Twitter handle is @Rocketman_131.
And also to Redmans. Thank you so much to both Christian and Redmans for your Patreon support.
The mysterious Redmans.
And we're going to have to start making up stories.
Yeah, we will.
So Christian, he retweeted links to help fund Mexico's recovery from its massive earthquake. And he also retweeted the screen caps of Wonder Woman and the Atom from Justice League Unlimited, in which she was carrying him in her hand. And I'm sure it was a Bruce Timm thing. Could have been Dwayne McDuffie, but I'm thinking Bruce Timm, where she goes, I need both my hands. And she puts him in between her boobs, and he just hangs there.
Of course it was Bruce Timm.
So I got a good laugh out of that, because I remember that episode.
And Redmans has spent his week saving kittens after Hurricane Irma.
And saving Mexicans after the earthquake.
Yes, after the earthquake. He just carries them.
There are real-life superheroes, everyone. Mm-hmm. This one's name is Redmans. You don't have to go to the movies to see him.
Kittens and Mexicans. That's what he's saving.
Is that the name of this episode now? Kittens and Mexicans? Thank you, Redmans.
Redmans be naming our shows.
So thank you all so much for your Patreon support. If you would also like your shout out every single month, for as little as $1 a month, that equals out to 25 cents an episode. You get the podcast early, you get your shout out. Just head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimbroke. Or if you head on over to thereasonsimbroke.com, there's a link at the bottom of the page.
But of course, our podcast will always be free. The best thing you can do for us is leave us a review or a comment wherever you listen to us, whatever podcatcher. Let other people know about us or interact with us on social media. We always love to hear from our brokettes. We love to answer your questions. So you can hit us up, Twitter @ReasonsI'mBroke, @PalpaKelli, and of course we're on Facebook. But if you go to thereasonsimbroke.com, you will see a list of everywhere you can find us.
And a huge thanks to decalavenue.com for the help at the $5 reward tier. At $5 or more a month, you will also get a special decal that is voted upon by all of our Patreon supporters at that tier. So once again, huge thanks to everyone. And as you said, best thing you can do is tune in every week as you do and interact with us. Tell a friend about the podcast.
But that does do it for the main portion of our podcast. Now we can move into our comic book highlight. As we said in the beginning of the show, this is Harley Quinn 25th Anniversary Special number 1.
So this special came with 3 covers first. The team behind it, it's written by Amanda Conner, Jimmy Palmiotti, Paul Dini, Daniel Kibblesmith, and Chip Zdarsky, with art by Paul Mounts, Chad Hardin, David LaFuente, and Joe Quinones, with colors by Dave Sharp, Alex Sinclair, and John Rausch. The 3 variants, so we got the main cover by Amanda, I guess it's 2 variants, and then the main cover is by Amanda Conner. There's a Jim Lee variant, and then a Terry Dodson variant, which has her in her classic red and black jester outfit. That's my favorite one. Gorgeous cover.
There's not a Bruce Timm one where she's mostly naked?
Yeah, where the hell's Bruce Timm? Could they not, was he busy or something? Like, pay him what he wants. Do a Bruce Timm variant. There are also variants exclusive through online retailers. I did not see one for Bruce Timm. If there was, definitely let me know. I would have dropped some coin on that one, but some great variants available at your local comic book shop. This celebrates 25 years of Harley Quinn, probably one of your top 5 characters, not only in DC, but in comic books. And it is celebrating her 25 years through a story written by one of her original co-creators, and then the creators from today that are continuing their legacy.
This was an adorable comic book. It is made up of 4 different stories. 4 different stories, different stories. I enjoyed each and every one of them. I thought they remained very true to Harley. They all told a complete story. There wasn't one that I read where I was like, this could have been left out.
The first story included her just having a big party with Catwoman and Poison Ivy, along with a lot of the main characters from the current ongoing. It's also, the second story was with the Joker, and it was an animated series story.
Yes, which was great.
Written by Paul Dini, and the character designs look like the season 1 through 3 designs. The Joker's got that orange like bow from the animated series and the purple suit. It's such a funny story. It's great. And of course, Paul Dini. So it is the Harley Quinn story. She's back in her classic outfit, which is what we want to see anyway. The third one had Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, and Swamp Thing sort of teaming up. That one was probably my least favorite of them, but it was still a lot of fun. And the final one had a story with gorgeous art by Joe Quinones, probably my favorite artwork from the book. And this is kind of an old school story set in Batman 89, in which they're going after, Joker and Harley Quinn are going after Batman and Robin. But there are elements of 89 in there as well as the animated series. So it's kind of an amalgam of all of those.
I don't want to spoil any one of these stories because, again, they're all really cute. If you're a fan of Harley, you need to pick up this book. But I was really glad they did this. They put it together and did a wonderful job. Like you said, so many nods. We've been Harley fans for forever. So many nods to her history and where she comes from. And it was just great for me to see right here.
At the $4.99 price point, is it worth the stories for Harley Quinn fans? Should people that just get the Harley Quinn comic book and nothing else buy this? Should they skip on it?
Get it. $4.99. That's not bad.
From the Harley Quinn fan herself.
The Harley Quinn.
Each issue also has a bunch of art prints, and Dustin Nguyen even did a fucking page.
I know, and it's beautiful.
So there's like tributes at the end of every single one of these stories in the comic, and it's like an art gallery. It's like a pinup. They've done these before in comics, and they did it for Harley Quinn's 25th anniversary with gorgeous pinup art pieces at the end of each, and they look awesome. The one that disappointed me, and not for a reason that it's like, oh, that was terrible, is the one by Babs Tarr, which has the 3, Harley Quinn, Catwoman, and Poison Ivy, and it says Gotham City Sirens. And Babs Tarr was teasing it and saying something is coming, something upcoming, and it was, sketches of this. And it's like, holy shit, is this the Gotham City Sirens announcement? Is she going to be the artist? We talked about it. And now that I'm seeing it in here as an art piece, I'm like, oh, she was just hyping up a print that she did for the 25th anniversary that she was proud of, which is great. But I'm sitting here thinking, oh, she's going to be the artist and there's going to be a Gotham City Sirens comic book. Why is there not a Gotham City Sirens comic book?
Babs Tarr, there will be. As soon as that movie releases, it'll be everywhere.
Ugh. So that's the only reason. Like, that's the only part of it that I was like, God damn it. Do you like Dustin's piece with the classic Harley in it?
Yes, it was so cool.
Absolutely beautiful. Gorgeous book. Again, well worth the $4.99 if you're a Harley Quinn fan. 25 years of Harley Quinn already, Kelly. The Batman Day got taken over by Harley Quinn. two of the biggest money makers for DC Comics, Batman and Harley, something that spun off from the greatest Batman anything of all time, Batman the Animated Series, and is now a multi-million-dollar character for Paul Dini, for Bruce Timm, for DC Comics, for every team that works on a Harley Quinn book, and for fans. We love the character from, Batman the Animated Series from the start of her creation, and we've seen her change throughout the years, but the core of the character remains in spite of the changes that have been made. So this is why we're still picking up books like Harley Quinn. It may not be what we're used to from the original cartoon, but it is still Harleen Quinzel. It's still the character. And
she's still so much fun. She will probably remain one of my favorite characters for my whole life. I liked her before she was cool, guys.
And that's not it for Harley Quinn. She is obviously going to be in Suicide Squad 2. She's going to be in the Joker and Harley Quinn movie. The comic is still going. And, she just had the animated movie with Batman and Harley Quinn, which we just reviewed. So tons of Harley, tons of content. It really is an awesome time for Harley fans.
Before we get into your movie review of Mother, I do have a comic book mention.
Shout out. Comic book shout out of the week.
Honorable mention. There you go. Honorable mention of the week comes from Metal 2. And this is something we haven't had in a while. A Superman Loves Batman moment. I can lift you up. I can show you what you want to see and take you where you want to be. You could be my luck. Even if the sky is falling down, I know that we'll be safe and sound. We're safe and sound. So you found this moment most hilarious. Please share with our brokettes.
So these are spoilers, sort of. It's something that we pointed and giggled and laughed at, which isn't really like a story point. It's just like, look, Superman's being gay for Batman. Look, right here. This is the most. And in Metal number 2, as he does more often than ever, I think, Superman mentions yet again that he knows Batman. I know your heartbeat, Batman. I know his heartbeat. I know your heartbeat almost as well as I know Lois's. And I'm like, I think you're fucking lying. You know Batman's more than Lois's. Why are you holding back at this point? You're telling him.
Why are you lying?
You're telling him that you memorized his heartbeat and that it's almost as close as your wife, your love of your life, Lois.
The thing that I appreciate most about this is we knew New 52 Superman was gay for Batman.
Sure.
But then we got this older Superman that we didn't really know if he was or not. He kind of played it aloof, and he was married to Lois.
He has a kid.
But this just solidifies it. He's
super gay for Batman.
Super gay for Batman. Maybe even more than New 52 was.
Possibly. Yeah. This is still, though, I think a deeper love for Batman, because there was that one moment where he was staring out of this in the Superman series, staring out the window as Lois is asleep, and he says, I can't hear his heartbeat anymore. And it's this is when we were like, okay, he definitely loves Batman. This version of Superman also loves Batman.
Oh, yeah.
And in this one, because Batman is running away, I won't spoil what is actually happening, but Batman is running away from the Justice League. He's obviously defeating all of them. And when Superman finally says that's enough, and he grabs Batman and he carries him so lovingly into the sky, and he tells him that he memorized his heartbeat. And
we're brothers.
We're brothers. Just talk to me, please. And he's holding him so lovingly. And I'm like, holy shit, this is the most Superman loves Batman moment ever in this whole year. Ever is that episode of Justice League where he runs up and he hugs Batman. And but in the comic this year, I'm like, this is it right here. The 2017 Superman loves Batman moment of the year. And it is perfect. This perfectly written Superman.
Does it win a Brosker for the best Superman loves Batman moment?
And I like that when he's talking afterwards, when he's talking to the Justice League, and he says, he mentions again that he knows his heartbeat, and he says, he's afraid and I'm worried. So it's this is why he always knows what Batman's feeling at all times. Not only is it enough to be able to know where he is because you hear his heartbeat, but he's even memorized how Batman feels at any given moment. He's forever linked to Batman. Just like Swamp Thing is linked to the green, Superman is linked to the bat.
I love it. Great job, Superman.
So you gotta check that out, Brocats. If you read DC Dark Knight's Metal number 2, look for that moment and laugh to yourself because it is incredible. On to Mother, which I watched.
Mm-hmm.
This is, it's out nationwide, which surprised me because Aronofsky movies, the last one that was out nationwide was Noah, which it's like, okay, I get it because they can get the religious crowd and it did make a lot of money. But for the previous movies, anytime I've tried to see Aronofsky's movies, I'm always on top of it. I'm like, okay, I gotta watch The Wrestler, I gotta watch Black Swan. Those were limited releases. We had to go to like the artsy fartsy movie theater in Central Florida to be able to see it on like this special night, like $14, and there's all these hipsters in the fucking theater, and I'm like, I just want to watch my Aronofsky movie. And, you know, that'd be the time. And this time, Mother's like nationwide, releasing Friday. And I look up times, and I'm like, holy shit, this is playing at AMC. We're gonna be able to watch this. And it took me a little, like we mentioned last week when we were on Super Side Up, actually, we guest filled for the Super Side Up podcast. So check out their episode when you get a chance. You can also follow them on Twitter at Super Side Up. We were able to guest spot on there. I didn't watch Mother that night, so I went the next day. You weren't able to go. But Mother stars Jennifer Lawrence. It has Javier Bardem, directed by Aronofsky, written by Aronofsky. And it is essentially another symbolic retelling of a biblical story, except it puts different people in different spots as God, as other characters, and kind of paints the twisted nature of a certain story in the Bible. And how, like, oh shit, that's actually kind of fucked up, and this is how it's being worshipped even today. So it's a very divisive movie. It is not for general audiences, exactly like you were saying. Aronofsky does not make those movies. And there is a scene in the movie that my friend Maceo, he hasn't seen the movie yet. He's like, but I've read a lot of things that there's a scene in the movie near the end that is either make or break for a lot of people because it is incredibly graphic. That people will walk out, they will immediately say, no, I didn't like that, was too much, I hate the movie now. Like something like that, if you push audiences a little too far, it can completely ruin the experience for them. And me, I was like, this is intense, but it wasn't like, fuck this movie now, he went too far. I was like, okay, that's what this means. And especially when you're following it and you kind of see where the symbols are, you're like, well, it's not really as horrific as you see it because you know that this is all symbolism. But one of my old coworkers, Alex, he was sitting in the movie theater and he said that someone had a panic attack in the theater during that scene. And he's like, yeah, it's heavy-handed. And he said maybe too much. Like he thinks Aronofsky could have reined it back a little bit. But the impact of it and what it means, because it reflects on the work that a character did earlier in the movie, it needed to be that intense. And sure, he could have done this particular scene, again, I'm not going to spoil it, by cutting away or by just seeing Jennifer Lawrence's reaction or something like that. But it's more powerful when an audience sees it. And again, it's not for everyone. And this is why I'm like, this movie especially, I don't see it making it, we're not going to see this in theaters next month, I don't think.
Right. Because
people that saw it probably wouldn't have liked it because of the shocking nature of it and would tell their friends, like, this is horrible, don't see it. And I don't see it making any Noah money because we weren't going in thinking like, oh, this is going to be like, the story of Noah's Ark. Let's go, kids. This is what happened. This is how it looked like. Wait a minute. There's giant rock monsters here. And for this one, they marketed it. Once again, an Aronofsky movie is not marketed right.
Of course.
The Fountain, they marketed as this action movie with Hugh Jackman as a Spaniard, killing off the Mayans and the Aztecs. And then you see it, it's like, oh no, this is about dealing with death, and that whole part isn't real. And then, the Wrestler, it's perfect. It's exactly what it should have been. People loved it. Black Swan, it's a psychological thriller. You don't really know, going in, like, okay, it's, I guess, about ballerinas, but she's transforming. Then you watch it, and again, it's symbolic, and it's all that. So this is probably closer to Black Swan than any of his other movies. And they marketed this as a horror film with Halloween right around the corner-ish. They're like, okay, this is when the scary movies come out. Here's it. And then you see the trailer for Mother, and it's like, ooh, another scary movie. Look at this cult. And that's how I thought it was going to be. Like, okay, there's this cult, and they're getting the family, and they got to run away or something. But it's Aronofsky, so who knows? And it's nothing like that. It's not a horror film at all. It's intense, and it's very graphic, but not in a frightening way.
I did see an article about this on my Facebook. It popped up. And the article was saying something like Jennifer Lawrence acts the best in her worst movie or something. That's how they said it. So they said her acting was really good, but it was a terrible movie. Okay. And there were actually a lot of people defending this movie, even people who hadn't seen it. And they said you can't say a movie is bad because you don't understand it.
They're not wrong, though. Like, a lot of people... It's a weird argument because The Fountain is one that you don't you can't understand right away on your first watch. You got to watch it over and over again. And then when you do understand it, it's amazing and it becomes amazing. Some would argue that it's the movie's job to make sure that the audience understands what it is. And others would argue, no, it's your job to dissect it and enjoy it and learn differently from it. And it's an art piece. It's for you to analyze. You don't go in front of a painting and go, oh yeah, it's a boat. Like otherwise they wouldn't have paintings that are just like colors and splashes. Like you look at it and it changes the way you feel. And I'm on that side of like, yeah, because you didn't understand it, it doesn't make it a bad movie.
Right.
It's, and it's not that movie either. It's not a horror film. So I will tell you though, talking about the acting, Javier Bardem and Jennifer Lawrence, I always talk about how Aronofsky brings out the best in people. They were okay. Like there wasn't I think acting was probably the weakest part of this. And the acting wasn't terrible. It wasn't subpar. It was good. But it wasn't amazing. It wasn't Noah. It wasn't The Fountain. It wasn't Black Swan. I don't think you're going to see anyone nominated for an Oscar or a Broscar in terms of acting or supporting or any of that. The visuals are incredible. The special effects they have there, it's a low-budget movie, but they look awesome. Like, they did effects like you saw in The Fountain, where it's just like, okay, they did some camera tricks to blend scenes together, and great job on that end. And then, of course, the score, the sound. This is one of those movies that if you ever want to see how sound affects the mood and the intensity of a movie, watch Mother. If you ever want to see how the camera placement, if it's too tight on an actor's face and it's constantly there, you feel uncomfortable along with the actor. Like, this is the perfect type of movie that you can, film teachers should like take and splice out clips and be like, how do you feel after watching this? Like, this is one of those where as I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, the sound is doing this, and it's more obvious, I guess, because, I guess we took those classes and it ruined forever, like how we watch these things. We can't just watch it and enjoy it.
Right.
But so it's one of those where there's so much in it to analyze and enjoy, and it can mean different things. And I have my own perspective on it. And I've talked to people who have seen it and they've also got their own ideas. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. That could be it too. My brother saw it. He had his other interpretation of it. I'm like, it could be also. So, but either way, it's the same type of message. Like we all understood what it was saying. And if you are not at all, if you're queasy about anything, if you stress out easily from watching movies or TV shows, they're like, oh, this is too intense. It's stressing me out. Don't watch Mother. If you're able to handle like The Exorcist, which I know it's a horror film and this one is not, but it's got it is very intense also. There's some intense scenes. Then you will be able to handle Mother just fine. But otherwise, don't take your mom if she's not like into those, or your grandma or your dad or older, it is definitely an art movie and it's intense and it's very good. And I think if you've watched any of his previous movies and if you've enjoyed them, you will like Mother. But just a heads up, it's not a horror film and it's not what you'll think it is.
It's definitely something that I want to see one day, but like you said, it was a mix between me having to go to work and me being 8 months pregnant and not needing to stress out more than I am. That made me skip out. But you purchase every Aronofsky film, so
I do, yeah. And I will buy this.
I will have the opportunity to see it someday.
I don't know if you should. Like, honestly, you, my mom, and my sister, I'm like, I don't think you guys should ever watch this movie. It is that intense. It's upsetting. It is upsetting.
Maybe I won't.
It's not my favorite Aronofsky movie. The Fountain still stands there. I'd put Black Swan ahead of this. Noah moved me to tears, even though, I'm not religious, and that one was incredible.
Because of the rock monsters.
They were the best. Oh my God, they were awesome. But that's how good of a movie. That's what it is. A movie's supposed to make you feel. It's all fantasy. It's tough to say because it's so different than the rest of his movies. I hate to put like The Wrestler even in front of it. I'd probably put it on par with The Wrestler. They're different movies, but I'd say I watch them as often when I own them on Blu-ray as I do those, but not quite as often as Black Swan or The Fountain. So there you go. Take that for what it is. I know it's kind of a weird review, and do know that I recommend it for a very select audience.
But with that, we can wrap up our podcast for the week.
Thank you all so much for your support, for tuning in, for your nomination for the Podcast Awards, for your Patreon backing, for downloading the episode, for interacting with us on Twitter, even if it's just a favorite, for liking us on Facebook, even if it's just a like on one of our updates. All of that helps. All of that tells us that you are paying attention, that you're listening, that there is an audience, there's an engaging audience, and we love that. That's exactly what keeps us going. That's exactly what pushes us to make the show better. And because of you guys, again, we wouldn't have gotten this far with nominations or the quality or any of that. So it's all because of you. Thank you again. We do this every so often, but I don't get tired of saying thanks to our audience, and I never will.
Of course, if you guys have any advice for us, any questions you want to ask us, something you want us to cover on a show, like you just said, we do this show for all of you. So we love to hear that feedback. You can let us know on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke, at Kelli.
And also, if you want to try to apply for if we have a guest spot in the future after you're recovering, after Leo's arrival, head on over to thereasonsimbroke.com, click on the menu on the left-hand side, click on Contact. Or if you're on desktop, there'll be a menu at the top. Just click on Contact there and send us, once again, if you have Skype, what you can bring to the show as a guest and why you want to be on the show. So again, thereasonsimbroke.com.
That is it for us this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Don't forget to use B-Chance in your everyday life.
That's right. Don't be a B-Chance.
Don't be a B-Chance. Use B-Chance. I'm Kelli.
I'm Daniel.
We'll see you next week.